So we're going to talk about the culture and engaging the culture, and there's been a lot of caterwauling about engaging the culture since the election, and I agree with the premise that we need to engage the culture, but not for all of the same reasons that everybody's been saying it. I'm not as panicky about things as everybody else is. Maybe it's because of perspective. It's not 20 years I've been involved with this, it's 29 and a half years I've been involved in this, okay? Almost 29 and a half. My first election I ever worked on was in the 1984 campaign. Jim Colby, Southern Arizona. Remember Jim? Yeah. That was his first winning election. He had lost the 2 years before that. I worked on the first one that he won. So I've been at this a while. So I've got some perspective, and I'm not all. Everybody was just so emo after that last. Oh my God, the youth and the culture and hyperbole or sugar, we'd all be dying of type 2 diabetes right now. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I do agree that we need to engage the culture, but not because it's a pandering move. Not because we need to engage it because that's the way America is right now. I'm not panicky about the youth vote. This whole Barack Obama created this youth vote out of nowhere that's killing us is a bunch of crap. In 2008, when Obama was first unleashed from the hounds of hell upon us, the 18 to 29 vote turnout was 52% even. In 2004, when a little redneck named George W. Bush won, the 18 to 29 vote turnout was 51.6%, okay? A negligible difference, and the Republican won that year. So this whole myth of the youth turnout is killing us is a myth. That's all it is. So that's not the reason. Everybody needs to just take it down a notch. Okay, everybody needs to just chill a little bit. Everybody's like, oh, we lost an election. Yeah, we won the one before that. And we weren't supposed to win that one, okay? Remember? We were supposed to be, according to Carville, who has his drunk moments and his lucid moments, and in one of his drunk moments, he said we were going to be in exile for 40 years. And we were in exile for about a year and a half, so screw him and everybody else. So now you win one, you lose one. Here's the story, this is the truth, before we get into everything else. 2008, election night, I take my daughter, she was 10 at the time. We go out to dinner, and because once I saw the Pennsylvania numbers, I knew time to drink. And we have a nice restaurant that's about a half a block from the place, so I knew the kid could find the way home, and I really didn't need to be all that aware. So we go and we have dinner, and I have wine, lots and lots of wine. And I missed the whole speech from the park in Chicago and the Oprah moment and the weeping and the tears and the history. So we're walking home. My little girl, who I don't indoctrinate about a lot actually, she goes, "Are you sad?" And I said, "Not really." And she looked at me like I was an idiot because she knew how hard I'd worked on the campaign. And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because this is America. We get to do this again in 4 years." I said, "If you're not talking about a presidential election, we get to do it again in 2 years. This stuff, it's cyclical. We get to do this over and over again." But in the era of cable news and social media, everything is so magnified. We act like everything, every little tiny thing is suddenly a book of Revelation moment, and the apocalypse is nigh. And that's one of the. And before we can move forward effectively, we really need to back right the hell off of that idea, okay? We cannot keep thinking, and the panic. We are not the emo people. They're the emo people. We're not supposed to be the emo people, and since the election, we've been the emo people. And that needs to stop. I mean, we should all just be wearing long, dark coats, scribbling in our journals, and listening to Morrissey right now. And it's been that awful since the election. So, having said that, there are ways that we need to go forward. We do need to talk about this for a reason. I will say this, talking in a political setting about engaging the culture is not unlike having a discussion about sexual technique with your parents. A lot of abstract theory about technique and some things and some pointers that might be valuable, but in the end you're really not going to learn anything until you do it. So, think of this as the talk. You know, you have to have the talk the first time. You're going, well, you know, here is the birds and the bees and the sex and the womb and the thing. And then it all sounds great. You think you've learned something. You haven't learned anything, and then you get older. Hopefully you get older. You know, if you're living in some parts of America, you get it the next morning. But you get older and you have the relations, and you find out that it's all a very different thing. And that's what I think we're about to encounter. Before I begin with that, I would like to find out how many people in the room are in the entertainment industry or primarily make their money off people in the entertainment industry. Okay, so there are a few of us here. So, because I think we're an exception to this. I think a lot of us have been, especially out here, we've been dealing with the culture, political split for a long time, the divide. I've been crossing it my entire life. And I realized that I wasn't helping people understand how to do that for a long time either until this last election. After the election, honestly, I took about a month off to quantify and qualify exactly what doing things differently meant to me. It's one thing to say you're going to do things differently, it's another thing to actually outline a plan that's different. If you're just running around talking about doing things differently, not really doing anything different. You're just talking about it, which I think has been happening at the upper echelons of the GOP lately. There are some signs of life. When they said they wanted to do fewer debates in the next primary, I was like, okay, someone's thinking. Nobody needs that much television. No politician needs that much television exposure. They might think they do, but you don't need them. And EPA. Perry fans. I've spoken to Rick Perry on numerous occasions, and he doesn't talk like that. He's like, you ask him, what are you going to need? The greatest thing about Rick Perry is he hates business regulation. If we could have just got him talking about that all the time, but you can't get him talking about that when he has 500 debates that are being led by George Stephanopoulos, and oh my God, why are birth control men are taking all their wounds? The few things we need to do to start engaging the culture are realize that we don't have as many barriers as we think, first of all. I get a lot of this when I speak. I get, where's our Soros? Or how can we start a movie studio? Or where is our Daily Show? Or where is our... First of all, when do we become the people that need someone else to give us something? No, okay? That's a bad attitude. We can create whatever we want to. We don't need our Soros. We don't need our sugar daddy. We don't need, especially right now, the barriers to entry with digital media at the moment are almost nothing. Anyone in this room with a smartphone right now could be creating content. We don't need a fairy godfather or a fairy godmother or a television or a movie studio to empower us right now. We just need to start doing things, and especially the people in the Hollywood community. I appreciate that there are some career risks that go along with that because I've incurred those risks. Okay? But all I'm going to say to my friends in the entertainment industry is do something or stop bitching. Okay? Either step up, I don't care how you have to do it, I don't care if you have to do it I'm trying to create some anonymous formats that will protect you. That's going to take a little bit of work, but it's in the works right now. But everybody needs to start creating content to engage, not just the youth, don't think about the youth, just the public, the culture in general. People laughed at the president last fall. Remember when all he would do was entertainment shows? And he wouldn't do any hard news shows? Not so much with the chuckling now. That turned out to be a brilliant move on his part. Because those soft youth voters, those people in America, who we need to stop calling low information voters, by the way. They're regular voters. Those are average American voters. We can't be condescending towards that anymore. We can't get caught. This is a mistake that we often make, those of us who are deep into the weeds in politics. We talk about it with each other. We hang around with people who are in politics all the time. We start to think that the rest of the world is like that. Most of the rest of the world isn't like this, okay? The people that most of America isn't this deep into politics. And it doesn't mean that they're low info, they're less info than we are. That's all it is. And we need to stop being condescending about that in a hurry, because those are the people we want on our side. And those are the people who, with the right kind of pitch, we can get on our side fairly easily. Kevin brought up something pretty interesting earlier about, you know, if it's just taken this percentage of Republicans that voted for me. And when you start breaking down most political races, even at the national level, but if you take it down to the state level and everything, and you start looking at how many votes, you know this, how many votes you have to turn in each precinct is all to win an election, it's a tiny number. These things that you think are daunting, we're talking about tens, dozens, hundreds. It's never a big number how many votes you have to change in a certain area to win an election. So we get overwhelmed sometimes by thinking like, oh, this is a blue state. Well, this is a blue state with a lot of red people in it, okay? It just happens to be a heavily populated state. We can target ourselves. And when you strip the negativity away and you start to realize things like that, and you start looking at the average voter, not the low info voter, the average voter. What you can do to pitch things to them. You can make a pitch to them based on economics, which we like to do, and we usually have the economics on our side. You can make it based on history, and we usually have the history on our side. But most of the time, when you do that, you sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. See what I just did to you right there? I talked about economics and history, and I made one pop culture reference, and 98% of you knew what the hell I was talking about, right? That's how you do that, kids, okay? You learn how to interject pop culture into things to sell it. That's all we need to do. It really is simple. And we need to stop doing it. I mean, we need to stop. One of the things I'm moving forward with right now, and there are people in this room who might be able to help, and there are ways we can think about it here, is we need to start bringing, let's say, a more liberty-minded message. Let's toss out GOP labels, free market. Let's toss out the hot button labels right now. And let's just talk about liberty. You can see with Rand Paul's filibuster last month or the month before, how popular liberty is when you talk about it to people. It's an easy step. Okay? It's like walking into a room full of fourth graders and saying, do you kids want ice cream? You're going to be able to sell the ice cream. So you take a liberty-minded message and you bring it to a cultural event. Whether it be a film festival, bring it to an existing one. Don't start your own. We don't need to start our own. I'm working on us having a presence at South by Southwest next year. I think it would be much better for us to be at South by Southwest than at CPAC. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Why the hell am I going to spend that much money to go to CPAC, hang around with 10,000 people who are already voting the way I want them to vote? Biggest freaking waste of my time I can imagine. You can laugh out loud. You cover it up like I'm going to be offended. I'm a comedian. That's quite all right. Laugh, pee, I don't care. I love the response. Film festivals, I think, are another place where you start creating some content, start creating short films, get them in film festivals, but don't start a conservative film festival. Because then it sounds like you have gargoyles and all over. We need to stop calling our art conservative art. The left, you notice, this is something Breitbart and I used to talk about a lot, okay? The left doesn't say this is a liberal show, or this is a progressive network, or this is they just go over and they take over NBC. That's what the left does. And NBC doesn't call itself a progressive network. You know what NBC is? A very progressive network. And they did. The left stealthily goes after this stuff, and they did it piecemeal. They didn't do it overnight. I'm not saying that, and this is the beautiful thing about it though, because of digital media, because of the almost non-existent barriers to entry now, we don't have to take as many years as they did to make some inroads anymore. We just have to start doing it and doing it frequently. There's a lot of people on our side lately that are like, well, why can't we have a conservative YouTube? We don't need a conservative YouTube because you know what we have? YouTube! Why do we want to take the time to set up a whole new platform when guess what? Here's my phone and 4 minutes later, it's on YouTube! These are the things we need to do right now. The people in the entertainment community need to start imploring their friends in the entertainment community right now to create content. We need to, and this is not content that will just rope in the youth, although that is what we can target the most. When you start making liberty-minded stuff online, talking about the government spying on your emails or your computers or drone strikes, all the things none of us like, there are a lot of kids who aren't voting for us who don't like those things either. And you can make them funny. You know we're fun people. You've hung out with us. You ever notice the dichotomy between hanging out with a bunch of conservatives and then seeing the way we portray ourselves officially online or at a meeting or something? We actually, when you read our stuff, we are the crotchety 90-year-old men that they say we are. But when you hang out with us, we're like, hey, we're fun. And you're going like, who the hell are these people? Because when I read them, they're like, oh, damn, die, you! I think engaging in social media is still the single most important thing. And I don't mean one Facebook post a day. I mean exhausting yourself in social media. Like I hate social media. Social media has been so good to me in the last few years, and it's done so much good for the right of center political movement, Twitter especially, because it's the only place we've gotten a foothold. I love it, but I've exhausted myself on social media just for this cause in the last few years, and I think everybody else needs to do that too. And I've decided to up the ante, actually. I was always a big Twitter guy. I hated Facebook. 3 weeks ago, I decided to jump in and just saturate Facebook, LinkedIn, G+, Twitter, everything. I've got 17,000 MySpace friends still, okay? That's how I do that. Seriously. But I think one of the single most important things right now is heavy engagement in social media and heavy engagement on Twitter, because it is the only place that our people have a foothold. And I know a lot of you are Facebook people, and there are ways to goose Facebook and make it work for you, but Twitter is still where we move the information and the news the fastest. And I've been an evangelist about Twitter from the beginning. That's the first thing I think you can do. The second thing, and this isn't so much culture, this is an everyday kind of thing, is get used to, and Breitbart was very big on this, get used to using the video camera on your phone. And you can use this for culture too, because there's goofy stuff you can video all day long. And you can put that on YouTube. Okay, that's what I keep saying. I'm a conservative here too. But you get a lot of news on that. People need to get used to the fact that you are the news now. Because I don't know how many of you were awake the night they started chasing those psycho terrorist brothers in Massachusetts a few weeks ago. How many were up listening to the scanner feed that night? It was one of the most intense nights I've ever been through with news on Twitter. The only thing I remember being that intense was that uprising in Tehran a few years ago, where all of the insurgent stuff in Tehran after the election was being spread by social media, and the Iranian government tried to shut it down, so everyone around the world shifted their time zones on their social media to Tehran, and it completely jacked up the Iranian government. It was awesome. It just flipped up the Iranian government. But this thing, so Fox isn't there, NBC isn't there, nobody's there, CNN isn't there. They start to go after these guys, and it escalates in probably 90 seconds. It goes out of its mind. Somebody tweets that there's a link to the Boston PD scandal. I get on there like 14,000 people, and already. And the first thing I hear is this cop screaming out, multiple explosives and definitely a lot of automatic gunfire. But he's screaming. There's no news. And there's no news for like 20 minutes and we're listening to this. I get bumped off. I try to get back on there. 89,000 people on scanner now. And I can't get back on because their servers are getting flooded. And Twitter moves information faster than any of the other social media platforms. That's what it's there for. You can get your pictures and your videos and all your kids on there, whatever else you want, on G+, Facebook, whatever you want. But if you're trying to move hard news in a hurry, Twitter's the place you do it, because you're going to have more backup there from your ideological perspective, and that's where you need to go. Back to the culture thing. The more somewhat humorous we can make something, the easier it is to approach. And that doesn't mean everybody needs to be funny, that just means everybody needs to know someone who is funny. Like in this last video, Zoe was in that video. Zoe's hilarious. Zoe can do whatever he wants on camera, and he's magical. And if you have Zoe in a video, you should make him funny. You should let him play to his strengths. If you have me somewhere, you let me be a smartass, because that's what I do better than other people do. You can co-opt material if you're writing a blog post or something. You take little snippets from a movie you like, or from anything. Here, good examples. Last week, when we'd been listening to all the excuses from the administration about this, that, and the other, and they're covering, I thought in my head, I've been a stand-up comic my whole life. My idol is Richard Pryor, and it hit me. There's a line from Richard Pryor's first concert video, and he's talking about his kids lying to him after he busted them breaking a lamp. And I posted it to PJ Tatler about it, and everybody was looking at it and going, perfect. He's just sitting there going, remember when you told me not to run? And I wasn't really running. And the kid's just making up lies. And I went, this epitomizes the administration for the last 4 days. And everyone who saw it went, so I took something that somebody else did that was freely available on, guess where I got it? YouTube! Did a quick blog post about it, and it resonated with people. It's that easy. There's something more specific I want to talk about, unique to this group, because we're Californians. I get asked all the time if I'm going to move. Why are you still there? Why are you in LA? Are you going to move? Are you going to move to Texas? I love Texas. I love the politics. I love the people. I've never seen one part of Texas I want to live in. Okay? When I first went on the road, I drove every inch of Texas for 2 years, did one-nighters all over the state. There isn't a part of Texas I would live in. I'm at an event, a Freedom Works event 2 weeks ago, and a good buddy of mine says, you think when your daughter goes to college, you'll move back to Arizona? Because I love Arizona, too. I'm a Tucson boy, and I like dirt, heat, reptiles that can kill me. Okay? But I love Los Angeles, too. And I said, you know, I might get a home in Tucson, but why should I let those commie bastards run me out of California? I'm one of those idiot Californians that's digging in, okay? I'm not going anywhere. If you go, I just get so angry thinking about me fleeing this state because those progressive loons have taken over for a while. They can't take over forever. This is not sustainable, what they're doing. That's why we have to stay here and fight. And we have the talent, the intellect, we have the creativity on the side to leverage this and start fighting it. But we have to, it has to be peace. It's little stuff. It's not big stuff. It's not our big studio. It's not our, start making little videos. You've got to know somebody here who can do some goofy ass video for you that you can post on YouTube. YouTube channels are one of the greatest things out, and it's true, once in a while they will shut you down. But that becomes like a badge of honor. Because now, because of social media, if YouTube shuts you down, or Facebook shuts you down, a zillion of us will go, oh look, what they just did. They shut so-and-so down. And then you've suddenly got some cred, because the commie bastards shut you down. If YouTube wants to go Soviet on you, let them go Soviet on you. Because then you tell me that they went Soviet on you, and then I'll throw it out there, and nobody's shut me. They've tried. They've looked for ways to shut me up. They can't. I got too many people on Twitter. They can't shut me up. I don't even think they can kill me. I'm fairly certain I'm bulletproof at this point. So because of the interconnectedness in the community that we've been able to gain through social media, we can achieve so much more now, and we're not achieving it on the cultural front. That's where we've been falling apart lately. There are little ways to break into this too. These things seem so benign, but it's the truth. Most of the conservatives I know are big music fans. And so some of the more hardcore activists I know, you know, late night on Twitter, a couple drinks, they just start tweeting music. That's all they do for the night. And that may not advance an election, that may not win you anything. You know what it does? It gets you a bigger following. It gets more people paying attention to you. Because you're just the dude who's tweeting some really badass music for a couple of hours. And then in the morning, when you start hammering a political issue, guess what? You've got more people paying attention to the fact that you're hammering a political issue. Yeah.
How do we keep the ball rolling? Keep the pressure on?
I think the biggest thing that we're missing the point on thus far is that almost every one of the Democrat apologists in the media, in the administration or ex-administration, they had Cass Sunstein out in Bloomberg today. The scandals are inevitable in the second term. You know what Cass Sunstein's old job was? He was the information czar for Obama in the first term. Every one of the left-leaning apologists in the last week has said the problem is that the government is too big. No shit. I had to say that, I'm sorry. What have we been saying all along? Reduce the government, and nobody on the GOP side yet has zeroed in on that. Sunstein even said it in the scandal, it was an inevitable thing. Executive branch is too big, there's no way he could possibly pay attention to all of that. It's too big. We got a way. Dial that down. Bring it back. Bring it way back, okay? And that is one way we need to focus on right now. If they're all going to admit what we've been saying all along, point out that they're admitting what we've been saying all along. The other thing is one thing I want to say is that everyone in the room who's serious about any kind of activism should be on the OFA email list, okay? Because you need to understand how well organized and how on it 24/7 the other side is. And will give you that sense greater than being on the OFA email list.
The what?
OFA is whatever Obama calls it this week. It's Organizing for Action at Obama.
For America.
Now it's organizing. It was Obama for America. It was Organizing for America. It's been 7 different things, but it's always just been his campaign email list. But now it's supposedly not that. But they're running his Twitter account. Yes.
One last question.
Maybe Hollywood has trained the IRS. What do you think?
Alex Jones territory, but I like it. I like it a lot. The IRS is just a tool. You know, that wouldn't be too impossible now that I think about it. When you think about it, the entertainment industry people, the people who become wealthy in this industry are the beneficiaries of probably the least regulated, purest free market in America. And which is always amazingly ironic to me when you get it produces so many hardcore lefties when these are the only people who are participating in a real free market in America. And if you could make maybe one George Clooney understand that, I mean, the sound of one head popping out of an ass could save the entire country.